November. We are very happy to have Professor Shuo-Yan for joining us again this year.
Thank you.
The aim for Adjunct Professor program are to activate the international academic atmosphere, activate the culture of international publication, increase the numbers of international lecturers, and increase the ITS world reputation. This series of lectures have learning objective to understand the significance of the Internet of Things, the architecture, operation, and business benefit of Internet of Things, explore the relationship between Internet of Things and digital transformation, as well as examine the potential real-world opportunities. Today is the third session. The topic is data integrity to innovative business models. I would like to inform you the class rules. So please fill the presence form in this link, Daftar Hadir Adjunct Professor, and please use full name in the Zoom meeting, turn on your video, and kindly use the virtual background. You can find the file as well as the syllabus and the materials in this link file Adjunct Professor. You can raise your hand or write in the chat in the Zoom or in the YouTube chat box if you have any questions. Please feel free to ask in Bahasa as well. For you who joining the fourth session will get certificate of attendance, and the one who passed the evaluation next week will have another certificate for passing. Right, so we will have after this around 1 hour lecture, following by the lab demonstrations around 20 minutes and the Q&A session for 15 minutes. Before that, please give a warm welcome for the coordinator of Adjunct Professor class, Professor Erma Suryani.
Yeah, okay, thank you, Bu Raras. Yeah, firstly, we would like to thank to Professor Chou and also Mas Indi, and our department chair, Pak Mujahidin, Bu Raras, and other team of Adjunct Professor. Yeah, because of all of your support, we can organize this program. Today, we are in the third series of Adjunct Professor program. I hope that this program will bring a fruitful benefits for all of us. Okay, thank you, Bu Raras. I will return this session to you. Thank you very much, Bu Raras.
Thank you, Professor Erma Suryani. Please let me introduce you to Professor Shuo-Yan. He is a distinguished professor and director of Center for Internet of Things Innovation, National Taiwan University of Science and Technology. He obtained his PhD in Industrial and Operations Engineering from University of Michigan. He did several courses, including supply chains management, product design and development, and his research interests are Internet of Things innovation, industrial Internet of Things, and big data analytics. So we are very happy since he can join this second year of Adjunct Professor. He is the expert in this field. Without further ado, I will give the time to Professor Chou.
Yeah. I think I mentioned that during previous 2 times, I mentioned that IoT started with something very technical, and it was an infrastructure and gradually evolved into many different things. And I'm also currently helping a company in Taiwan developing a so-called IoT curriculum. However, it will cover communication, sensors, how all the hardware until platform and application and so on. It is more for the industry, but for this course, because when we have 4 times, 4 lectures, and the time are relatively short, so I try to focus on some key issues, and basically from the hardware part, fundamental part, which I did the first time, the first week of the lecture. Last week, I elaborate some application, and also I also emphasize that data obtained from the physical world will not suddenly become useful, particularly if we use in the physical world. A lot of data are analog data, for example, sound, image, video, and so on. Unless we can turn these so-called unstructured data, unstructured in the sense that the computer cannot make sense out of the data. With an image, it contains a lot of information. In the past, the computer cannot decipher what is within the picture. But now, as I presented last week, with the deep learning, machine learning, but particularly with the deep learning tools, we are able to turn sound into text. We are able to turn image into lots of information as long as we can train them in a unsupervised way. So unstructured data becomes structured data, and we can analyze the data so that we can provide better decision support for problems occur in the physical world or in the real world. That's the purpose of IoT. IoT is the infrastructure. It's not just collecting data. Well, we have data. We can see. Seeing is the first thing. We need to be able to take information out of the data and try to utilize data to either building the model or respond to real-time situation. But there's another layer of the problem that we haven't really addressed. Of course, last week there were people talking about cybersecurity issue. I mentioned that there are problems besides cybersecurity. There's this data integrity problem. That is the data being recorded, physical data being recorded, or digital data being recorded. Okay, physical is even tougher because your reference disappear. Right? This thing happened in the physical world. You seem to record it, and this recording can be changed. Once it's being changed, you cannot go back and say that what actually happened in the past because it's gone. It's in the physical world. So physical world and digital world as well, we need to make sure that the data integrity can be kept. That is, the data we recorded in the digital system can be trusted. It is, in fact, quite difficult. Later, we'll address this problem. And with IoT, with the ability to analyze the data or turning unstructured data into structured data and being able to keep the integrity of data, we should be able to generate some new business model. A lot of them could be innovative. That is, these three digital technologies or with other digital technologies enabled some business model which we could not have without them. Okay. So first of all, I think, again, we are so familiar with the network. We are so familiar with the World Wide Web, and we feel that it's something reliable, something we can depend on. And we don't even know how we can live our daily life without a World Wide Web. However, it's quite dangerous and it's quite problematic in recent years. I think when World Wide Web just came out or internet just came out, we feel that we make the entire world transparent to basically everybody. So in an organization or in a country where there are things which did not do right can be exposed. So all these things can be exposed so that those things will not happen. So we have very high aspiration for World Wide Web. And it is just like a lot of technologies and systems. It turns out not to be true, at least not to be true totally. In fact, World Wide Web now present a lot of problems for us. Besides, everybody is taking the device, reading the information sometimes useless information all the time, being addicted. This addiction is a true disease nowadays. You are addicted to your phone. Like if you don't have your phone, you have this anxiety of insecurity. Maybe somebody will send you some useless message, you miss it. But I feel that's the least of the problem. The real problem is we are receiving a lot of fake news. These kinds of fake news are changing our view of the world. And to the extreme case, it is changing our value system. And these are fake news or could be real news, but you only receive the information that certain companies, right? Certain centralized companies, certain company running, certain company providing news. They provide such information, catering to maybe your needs, but maybe their needs or their customers' needs, other business. So you feel that everybody is doing this because that's what you read. However, it's not true because you are reading these processed information for certain purpose, which you are not aware of. This is something quite dangerous. The conflict nowadays in the world, a lot of them come from these kind of reinforcement mechanism. People reading news and AI in the system realize that, oh, you like to read this kind of news. So AI screen out all other news, providing you the same kind of the news. So you say, oh, yeah, you see, my opinion is supported by all other people. Everybody say that, but in fact it's not. They screen out all the opinion which may not agree with you. So people get reinforced and people get more and more extreme. So more conflict occur. Right? So it's even bigger than just you being addicted to the system. You are being, in some sense, brainwashed with the system, with centralized control system. And these companies are so big that they cannot fall. They cannot fail either, because it's so big that it's very difficult to challenge them. That becomes more dangerous than a lot of other things. And of course, we know that these companies which provide certain services to us, they analyze us, understand us, and they understand their customer. Potentially, they can provide benefit for us, right? Linking us to our friends, we keep us informed, and providing information for us which we may need. But at the same time, they are doing a lot of things which are against us because they are still profit-oriented company. So basically, the centralized system is very, very powerful, but very dangerous. On the other hand, I think most of us are probably not really aware that we are not owning our data. Right? We provide a lot of our data on the web to the social media, social network. And those data were obtained by those companies, and they profit from them, and they use them either, well, providing service in return, they get some benefit from you, or they use the data to develop certain mechanism which they can be more profitable, but it's not really towards your advantage. So when there are other companies which may truly provide service to you and benefit you, but you don't have data. Your data are owned by those companies which have already obtained your data, and you cannot obtain them back, and you cannot ask them to remove the data if you don't want their service. It's something also very strange, because data, if we keep saying that data is the value, right? Data is the gold mine, data is the new mine, then how come our data, we don't have the ownership? And in fact, the data on consumer, on individual, is basically having commercial value tremendously. All these advertisement income supported these social network company. So they basically know you better than you do yourself, then sell the data for other business so that they can profit by influencing your decision, buying more product from them. And at the same time, they will prevent a lot of innovation because those innovations are too small to compete with these big companies. Another thing is over the web, over internet, we can only transfer data. We cannot transfer value. Information or data are the new mind, but we are talking about creating some value from them. But those data by themselves do not have value, cannot reflect the value directly. For example, I can send all of you email and say that I want to give you a certain amount of money, and maybe I do own the money, but I want to transfer some to all of you. But it won't happen because it's just data. The value cannot be transferred over the network. Right? That's another problem. So globally, we say, oh, okay, we are doing everything at the digital speed. We can send data, we can send text, we can send image. Yeah, we can see our friend far away in real time, but you cannot transfer data directly, transfer value directly, value that you own, you truly owned. But the system doesn't really record the value, and so that you can really give the value to the other person. Maybe some of you will think, well, I think we are doing that already. We use e-payment, right? We do online purchase. Yeah, those are transferring value, but in fact, it's not. Those are still transferring data. We need to have a physical company, physical organization. Again, the third-party centralized organization taking the data, and they do the transaction. We need to trust them so that they do the transaction for us. If their data shows that we don't have the value, then we don't have value. If their system says we don't want to transfer the value for you, we cannot transfer. Or if they say that we want to transfer the value for you, but at a much higher price, and we have no control. Okay. Well, so how can we allow digital system to record value and transfer value? That's the question that we want to address as well. So one will be integrity of data. One which will influence the trustability of the data. And once we can trust the data, we can trust the information, we can trust the value, so that we can have a completely new system. And later, towards the end of this talk, I will also mention about so-called metaverse or new innovative applications. Maybe at this point, you are still a little bit unsure that why is data integrity so important? Right? We seem to be doing quite well, not addressing this issue very seriously. But if you think of our society as they're getting more digital, you can see if you look back, our society functions based on data, based on record. Right? You claim who you are. How do we know? We did not go to live with you from your birth until now. How do we know you are who you claim you are? So it's based on the data. And when you are trying to sell certain property, how do we know you own it? You are not even if you are sitting right there and say that you want to sell this object, how do we know that you own it? Again, it's based on data. And you want to get a job, you claim that you have certain degree, certain experiences. How do we know? And we are doing business together, and it can rely on our word of mouth. But then, how can we be sure that our agreement can be exercised correctly? There are many issues which rely on the data, and these data are currently recorded by so-called third-party or neutral organizations. So we basically either need to trust people or trust other people or other organizations so that the data can be trusted. These are the current system. But these systems are so centralized that to the degree that they created a lot of superficial barrier so that they can profit from such kind of mediation. And more importantly, they can control whether or not you can do certain things. And as we get more and more digital, we mentioned about now we try to record activity in the physical world, in the digital system as well. So we want to rely on everything on the digital system. How can we trust data in the digital system? How can we make sure that the digital system can benefit us rather than harm us? That's something that we need to address. Wherever there are human involved, and human is a very strange animal. Whenever we have human involved, they may be risk, they may be fraud. I think that's something that we all understand. With the organization, even third-party organization or so-called neutral organization, there are still people involved, and data recorded in the digital system, they should not be changed, and people not having authorization should not be able to access the data. However, people having authorization may be able to access the data, and they may still change the data, and although they may get caught later on, but the damage will have already been done. It will be very difficult to recover. So in recent years, there's a new development of the system called blockchain. Blockchain is basically, you can think of it just a mechanism recording data. And you can also imagine that it is many nodes or many data archives recording identical data. And they synchronize the content. So if one was corrupted, then they kick it out. And this node need to download the identical set of data, consensus data, to the node so that it can join the system. It's I have a way to describe about blockchain, but I think I'm not going to talk about it too much. But it's basically, instead of we need to trust a person, an organization which is run by human, now we can trust the blockchain system. So we, instead of trusting, need to have a trusted organization. Now we can have a trusted machine. Blockchain is a trust machine. Once we record the data, we allow it to keep the data, then we can trust it because it's so difficult to change it. Later, if giving question and answer section, if you still have question about blockchain, I will try to explain. As I said, I have a way to explain it. Hopefully that will help you to understand it. But at this point, I just want to emphasize that blockchain, once the data is recorded on blockchain, it cannot be changed so that we can trust it. So blockchain is like keeping the record and putting a timestamp And later you cannot recreate the history because the cloud will move forward continuously. You cannot go back to the past. You cannot, meaning that it's extremely difficult that you can go back to the history at a certain point, change the data, and hope that people will not find it. It's extremely difficult. So that we can trust data recorded on blockchain. If we can trust data recorded on blockchain, then we just need to allow it to be open so that people need to access such kind of open information, shared information, they can get it directly. An example will be if we are, a lot of students are in this lecture, if you are trying to apply for a school and the school you want to go ask you to provide your transcript, recommendation letter, or maybe your diploma, then you have to go to these different people, different organizations to get them, and you can send them to the school you are applying for. However, even with that, they could be fraud because it's quite easy to do that nowadays with the nowadays technologies. But if your graduation record, your transcript were recorded on blockchain, as long as we can authorize the person having the right to access the information, that person can get the information. That information was created when it happened. That is, when you graduated, when you got the grade, they are all recorded on blockchain. So you can grant the access to other people. They can just get. They cannot change it, but they can see it. So the communication become very open, very fast. We don't need to call somebody and trying to get somebody having the access right to get the data and provide the data to you, and you transfer the data or they transfer to us. You don't need to go through these information. You can imagine that the administrative process, the process of keeping record and make sure that record can be trusted, all these kind of activity can be significantly reduced. Right? Make the administration process, the business process a lot faster. Okay. So one example, interesting example is if we can record the signature or fingerprint of a diamond on a blockchain. And it does have a lot of signature, its quality, its dimension, its reflection, and all these data recorded. And in fact, they have some inscription on the diamond too. So once it's stolen or once it's lost, somebody got it and tried to sell it, and they go on to the presumably we can assume that there's blockchain keeping the data or the fingerprint of such kind of diamond. So when they are trying to sell it, people can find easily that the ownership of the diamond is not this person. Then they can confiscate this diamond, and the insurance company and legal system can all rely on this blockchain to settle on the ownership. And you can imagine all other ownership, all other data can be performed similarly. Put the data in the system, and they can expose the data as needed. So all relevant people, after being authorized, they can also access the data directly and execute relevant functions. So when we talk about value, I think most tangible value right now is currency. Right? You can use it to buy item. It's just a piece of paper, or it's in current system, it's just a number in the bank, and they allow you to do all kinds of transaction. However, as I said, if we store the money in the bank, okay, so we feel that we have the ownership. We do have the ownership, but it's just a number in the bank. How can we truly have the freedom of owning the assets and use them directly? Like we rely on the bank to do a lot of things for us, and they rely on their communication with other bank, and they don't trust each other that much. So they need to sort of having certain mechanism so that everything is secure before they can do the transaction for you. But if we record our ownership on the blockchain, everybody can see it, or all the relevant people can see it. So they know we do have the money because it's recorded as we, in whatever way we got it. And when we want to transfer the money to another person, the information can be updated. The updated information record that our money is reduced, the other person's money is increased. Again, it is in the system, but it is like transfer the money to the other side. It happens in real time, and the transfer out and transfer in occurred simultaneously. The reduction on my part and increase on the other part. And this other person's ownership appear on blockchain, and it can be recognized. So we don't need to rely on a third party to do this transaction, keeping ledger for us. In fact, the blockchain itself, it is a big ledger, keeping the record, who owns what. Right? And in fact, it's not only safe, we have true ownership on the blockchain. It's fast because, as I said, the transfer out and transfer in happen simultaneously. There won't be this double spending issue. I transfer the money to you. I say, oh, I want to spend this money buying certain thing. And before you check the validity of my transfer, I quickly spend money on another object. I may be able to do that if there's a time lag, but with blockchain, it happens simultaneously. So there's no double spending issue. So it is the most popular and well-known blockchain application. In blockchain, of course, I think people could, next slide. Okay. Most popular and well-known application, which is Bitcoin. But Bitcoin is not equivalent to blockchain. Bitcoin is not the blockchain, all of blockchain. Bitcoin is just, if we look at this figure, there are many blockchain concepts, many blockchain. And one of them is Bitcoin blockchain. And with Bitcoin blockchain, supposedly it can do a lot of things too. But then there's a Bitcoin, which is a cryptocurrency. This cryptocurrency, since it's a currency with Bitcoin blockchain, presumably we can have many related financial applications or financial services, but mainly people are using Bitcoin for financial transaction only. So entire Bitcoin blockchain is just recording money and recording transfer of money. It's a simplest form of blockchain. Of course, later blockchain, they have other functions, particularly Ethereum. Once they have established, they utilize something called smart contract. So a lot more things can be done, and they can still have their own cryptocurrency. So with the money and the mechanism of executing all these pre-designed contract, there are a lot of new application can be done, and it's done with the blockchain. People cannot interfere, changing the rule, changing the record. So it becomes, again, a trust machine that we can trust. So blockchain will continue to evolve, particularly later when we talk about metaverse. I will also explain that a little bit more. And blockchain right now has a lot of legal issue and so on. It's probably not within the scope of this lecture. For example, if we call it a currency or we call it a token, they have different legal responsibility, right? If you get certain, you get a blockchain, if it's money, then you make money out of it, you need to pay tax. But if you have token, you have points, then you don't need to pay tax if you get more points. Right? We are getting membership point all the time. We don't pay tax for them, but whatever currencies, money that we get, we need to report it to our tax office. They need to be taxed. And people collecting real money and changing them to cryptocurrencies. And how should we consider that? Are they exchanging currencies or are they buying digital asset? If the digital asset increase the value, should we tax it and so on? So there are still a lot of issues being discussed. But definitely with blockchain serving as the foundation of digital currencies, it does provide a lot of opportunity for different purposes. First of all, if you use cryptocurrencies, you don't need to print paper money, right? Printing paper monies are very costly, in fact. And if you don't have enough paper money, then you don't have enough circulation. But printing too many of them and gradually allow them, because they cannot be traced, so there are a lot of corruption, money laundering, illegal transaction issues. But with digital currency, cryptocurrencies at certain level, they may be able to be traced. So China started to have this digital currency, and they were trying to explore its potential. First of all, they can issue a lot of them. They can circulate internationally without constraint. I think during this period of event in Europe, Russia and Ukraine, Russia attacked Ukraine, and international community decided to sanction Russia and say, okay, SWIFT will not transact, will not communicate. Basically, SWIFT is a communication system, communicate for your banks with the international bank. So you cannot send money abroad, and you cannot do a lot of international trade. That is basically choking Russia in terms of their business development. But Russia was seeking, or China has been pushing this system so that they can easily circulate their value digitally, internationally. What they provide to individual is, maybe right now I want to distinguish them a little bit. It's not everybody having an account. In blockchain, it is everybody having a wallet. That's very different from your concept of digital payment. Your concept of digital payment is, oh, I have an account. But your account is, in fact, an account to a certain company or bank, right? Let's just say you have an account in Line. In Taiwan, we use Line more often. So you have account, Line account, so they can do the transfer for you. Even for that, I think it's a little bit tricky. But anyway, they are doing that for you. You have an account. Your money is not in your hand. Your money is in their safeguard, hopefully. And they transfer the money for you. But for digital currencies, in China's case, it is in your wallet. In your wallet. You can use it, and the transaction can be executed directly. The transfer can be executed in real time without a third party. That's a very big difference. Of course, Chinese digital currency is not fully blockchain based. Basically, we don't know how this kind of system will have impact on our currencies or our economy. So they started it with some pilots started from a smaller scale for transportation and for certain shops, and see how things go, whether or not it will it can be done smoothly, and whether or not it will create certain problems. So they are still experimenting digital currency, but it is, imagine that if in the physical world we all turn into digital currencies, in the digital world, in metaverse, I think eventually the money that we use in the physical world buying something, or money in the physical world, in digital world that we are playing or we are buying to, those money may be able to flow in and out. In China, basically, People's Bank of China, they are more like a central bank. So they issue the money, the digital currency, to a commercial bank. Commercial bank give the money to individual. Individual can use those money. Commercial bank cannot trace where the money flow, but People's Bank of China, or like central bank, can trace eventually, if they do want to trace where the money flow from who to who, and who owns the money and transfer to who. So that will also prevent money laundering and other problems. So yeah, it's not fully blockchain based, so it's not fully decentralized, but it serves their purpose. Internationally, how would that develop? It's still not clear. But at least there are two countries in the world, not very developed countries. I personally feel that it's very, very risky. Declare that Bitcoin is their currency. They use Bitcoin, which is fluctuating tremendously. It's not very clear why they want to do that, but that's also a reality. So with blockchain, being able to record value to preserve our ownership, also to allow value to transfer much faster over the digital network. In fact, there are also other value proposition of blockchain. I mentioned about ownership, keeping the data or ownership of the physical object that we have in the physical world, like diamond, like apartment, like whatever products that you have, asset that you have. Also, they can record all of your records, right? Your record, your credential. And also something also I feel that quite interesting is because for a lot of cooperation, it failed because we don't know where to store the ownership. We are we buy, let's just say if we buy a painting together, very valuable painting together, and maybe there are 100 people buying it, but who should keep the painting? And if the painting is sold, how can we be sure that we'll get our fair share of the profit? It's relatively difficult, and in fact, there were a lot of fraud happen in the past. We can co-own a house, and the house will appreciate the value. And then once we agree to sell the house, then we can all get our share of the profit. But that failed in many cases. Or but with blockchain system, basically with smart contract, you have co-ownership. is recorded on the system. When the object ownership is transferred, and in turn we get values. Those values based on the record on the smart contract will be distributed automatically to all the shareholder. So there's less risk. That allows a lot of cooperation being able to form. That's what I meant by something like nano economy or other functions. Okay. So basically, there are a lot of value that we can continue to talk. People nowadays still talk about blockchain, but now a lot of people are moving towards NFT, which is also something very similar. That is, we are still trying to make sure that we are creating something. That creation is unique, and it is being recorded, and you cannot fabricate such a thing. You cannot duplicate that thing. And because of that, because that uniqueness, because of it requires effort to reach that kind of result, although it's digitally, it's a digital object, but then that thing has its tangible value, because the blockchain can prevent fabrication or duplication or suddenly without any effort creating a lot of them. That's why it possesses value. It's something also quite difficult to explain, but you can imagine that all values are perceived. All values are based on the needs. As long as there are enough people who are willing to use it or trust it, and it will become reality. Right? Gold, we all think that gold has value. Why is gold having value? Gold is just some kind of mineral, although it's rare, but who cares, right? It doesn't. You cannot eat it. If you want to use it to build a house, then it's not enough. Right? It's just some stone, but then it becomes something that everybody recognizes that it is where the value is, and it is. People just use it. Similarly, in the digital world, I think such kind of things can also be created. As long as people recognize its value, people want to trust it, you cannot suddenly create a lot of them, then it may present the value. But the mechanism is still very, I feel that is still very, very tricky, meaning that you can still create a lot of cryptocurrencies. So they can be recreated. So you are not unique, not like gold. You are unique. Or platinum is probably more valuable. And then maybe we say diamond. Maybe we say something else. Those you cannot create. But I mean, in the digital world, how do we come up with the such kind of value, that such kind of digital value that is recognized and continue to be recognized, and its value continue to appreciate? That's something still not very, very clear. Okay, a lot of them will probably fail, but it doesn't mean that such kind of things will not happen. Such kind of things will still, I feel that will still happen. Just that I don't know where and how it will settle. So the blockchain I mentioned about, it can really record the value. It is the value. It's a data. The data can generate value. It does possess the value, and the value can be transferred. Okay. So we can use blockchain in a lot of applications. Here is just a simple application. That is, suppose we want to purchase energy electricity from, I just say, from our neighbor, and we can just have a blockchain performing such kind of transaction whenever they measure, again using IoT, the amount of electricity you have used, then there's a certain amount of money can be transferred, or you transfer a certain amount of money and there's a meter recording how much energy you consume until you reach the limit, then they stop unless you pay more. And it can be done without any bank or company intervene on the value transfer. You just need to everybody rely on this blockchain, open blockchain. They can help you to support such kind of mechanism. Again, it doesn't require a company to run such kind of mechanism. The blockchain itself can be provided by a company, the infrastructure, and there, of course, there will still be some costs, but the business that you do on the blockchain, the transaction, all these things, and they make sure everything is right before they will change the value. In fact, blockchain by itself can do that for you. And similarly, I think this is another example for carbon emission. Now, carbon emission is no longer, well, reduction of carbon emission is no longer just a social responsibility. With carbon emission of a manufacturer exceeding the cap, then you need to pay. For example, if you import certain value to a country which have set a carbon cap, if you exceed that cap, then you have to pay tax. For example, there's a cap on a pair of sports shoes. In Europe, they set a cap. So if you make your shoes, the shoes you make exceed the cap, for the shoes you import to European Union, you have to pay carbon tariff. It's a real cost. So we are also trying to focus on different IoT application combined with blockchain, not necessarily AI at this point, trying to help manufacturer or building to understand how much carbon emission they emit and help them to reduce carbon emission. At the same time, help them to control their manufacturing cost. And blockchain is in fact supporting the new so-called Web 3.0. Recently, at least in Taiwan, they are calling this metaverse a Web 3.0 world. It's well, it's just maybe it's just a commercial slogan, but basically, when web was first developed, you can imagine that it was just web pages, right? But right from the beginning, the creator, Tim Berners-Lee, he knows that the web should be a semantic web. So from pages connected to pages to social network, which is Web 2.0, humans are connected to the web. And Web 3.0 basically is talking about semantic web along with a lot of other information which can support the kind of application we are using. Just think of web is the current infrastructure for connectivity. It provides us a lot of information, community, our understanding of the world. But the web, as I said earlier, that has a lot of problems. So here, as you can see, the component of Web 3.0 include semantic web. That is, whenever you want to search your information, the web can find the information, precise matching information for you rather than getting you a lot of pages. If you use Google, you can probably feel that and see that gradually they are doing this. It give you some information, process the information that may be suit your needs precisely. Although it may not, but basically they will come out with something like that. Then they will have, say, Wikimedia information and some other pages. Right? That's what Semantic Web does on the search. And hopefully on the web, we'll have smarter AI. We have spatial web. That is the information that we see are no longer just pictures, no longer just text. It will be a three-dimensional information where we can walk through or we can immerse ourselves in the situation so that we don't need to rely on the description of the reporter or rely on certain snapshot of the event. We can go into the event and see for ourselves, understanding what actually happened at a certain location or in a certain event. And also like P2P network, again, it is trying to build the environment so that it can avoid the current situation, which is if we use, let's just say, any social network, basically, that social network is a centralized system. It sort of take away all of our information, and we cannot keep it, and we cannot own it. Right? Those are our information. Maybe you use that social network for 10 years, accumulating a lot of data, and you can see them, but you cannot use it. The company owns it. And if you say, okay, I'm tired of this, I'm addicted to the system, I want to leave it, destroy it, and so on, but they still own it, unfortunately. Peer-to-peer network, maybe I can give you an example. Last week, I also mentioned that there's a colleague of mine or a friend of mine. He is in Bali Island right now. He's building something very similarly. That is basically, he's creating a system so that you can work within this bubble. All the important functions like searching, data, searching Wikipedia, publishing, communicating outside world, you can all do it within your system and your bubble. And your bubble may engage contact with a service provider. However, data that you provide to them, you kept the data. So you can basically own your data. And if you want certain service outside, and if you want to allow certain company to own your data for free or at certain cost, you have control of it. And many other applications. I think Tim Berners-Lee is also doing something similarly so that they can really uphold the data ownership for individual users of the Web 3.0 world, and many other things, just so that you know that there's a very comprehensive development on the new web. And this new Web 3.0 is also tied nicely with metaverse. So this is just a view of metaverse. If we sort of dissect metaverse, for sure, we need to have an infrastructure, because we are talking about the digital world, the digital universe. We have universe, you know, right? Universe. We are living in a universe, but there were a lot of just a proposition. I don't even know how to call it, that we are not unique. Right? We may have a parallel universe. We may have multiple universe. If we don't have it, a lot of physical principle cannot be explained. So we have universe, we have multiverse. Now we have metaverse. Metaverse is just a digital universe digital, not universe. Like you can think of digital, but it's much powerful. It's much bigger. It can include anything, everything you can imagine. Like we are in the physical world, and digital world seem to be bounded without boundary. I mean, even for our universe, we suspect that outside our universe there's something else. Like maybe we don't have boundary. So in the metaverse, how do we create value and possess value and secure value? How do we live in that digital world as if we are living in the physical world? I think being able to ensure the value of the digital asset is extremely important. And digital world, as I think the second layer talk about human interface. We human go through a certain interface to live in the metaverse. That interface, including AR, VR, whatever ways, can make the world, can make us really as if we are living in that world. So during the day, I'm a professor. At night, I put on my goggle. I'm living a different life, and I can do a lot of things I cannot do in the physical world. And if you say that it's not real, but to me, it's quite real. And it cannot be centralized. It has to be decentralized. It cannot be controlled by a single person. It will be just like us in the physical world. I'm an independent person. I can sort of connect with the rest of the system rather than I will be always controlled with a while by some organization or some person. And they need to compute the spatial space, limited space. There should be a so-called spatial computing. And more importantly, in the metaverse, we should be dealing with not dealing with programming. A lot of values, a lot of object assets can be created by people. So they should be a very live programming, so-called creator economy, just like in the physical world. We can create value in the environment, right? With infrastructure, interface, decentralization, which is blockchain basically. We have spatial computing. Everything is still controlled, more contained, more or less by space, and value being created, and value can be further discover or a value add, and basically creating experience. Living in the metaverse is basically experiences. And if the metaverse in that digital world is as real as the physical world, you can see, you can touch, you can feel, you can smell, somehow connected with the physical world. But if that is the world that you can live in, then if they can create such kind of experience to people, that value will be there. It's very strange, but if you think of Matrix, a movie, I think you can probably get a sense of they can live a life there too. They can live, they can have love, they can have hate, they can create value in the physical world. If we can all be healthy, we can all be fat, and maybe living in that kind of world is also an expansion or augmentation of our life. That's blockchain will support this, to support the value of asset, digital asset, and maybe it, as I said, can be connected to the value and asset in the physical world, so that we are living in the same world, the same universe. And again, there are blockchain, maybe not what a lot of people thought. I'm just good. And you don't need to use blockchain in the physical world, particularly in terms of data, storing the sense of storing data, you may not need to use blockchain unless, do you have shared data? If you don't need to share data, you don't need to use blockchain. Blockchain is putting it out there and share with others. Do you have multiple entities? If it's just you and very few people, you can securely do that, then you don't need to have blockchain. If your data need to be updated later on, then you cannot use blockchain. The data is not as sensitive, right? It cannot other people can know that. You are allowing the data to be known. For example, your transcript, so that you can put on blockchain. So there are certain criteria that if you fit, then using blockchain is a very good solution. But if it's not, there are other solutions. Sometimes it's just simple database. Okay. Sometimes it's just simple encryption. And with all of them together, okay, this is so summing up what I have shared with you over the past 3 weeks. With IoT, with AI, with blockchain, basically we can form something more like with their fusion. Basically, we can get data from the physical world, helping us to understand, and with AI helping us to analyze and creating value from the data, and with blockchain helping us to keep the integrity of the data. So 3 of them together can enable a lot of applications. And these applications, if we think of it, these data, once we can utilize these data to drive decision, to drive activity or the system, it is basically providing a sort of data-driven approach. And if you try to come up with, if you are asked, I think last week I also mentioned about this. If you are asked about something, how to make something smart, how do you make a cup smart? How can you make a traffic light smart? Or how do you make a light smart? All of them, I think people will always come up with, oh yeah, it has sensing capability. Oh, it has is driven by the data and providing the data and so on. So intelligence and smart, I would say that they are sort of different things. Artificial intelligence, we are talking about creating human intelligence artificially, artificial human intelligence. But for smart, we are talking about a data-driven approach. If we can have like street smart, right? Reacting quicker, reacting situation more flexibly, doing things more with more agility and so on. It is the result of smart, but the source of the smart is basically data. With the data, we are able to respond more accurately. We can respond more timely, and so basically, intelligence and smart, we can separate them into 2 things. When we talk about artificial intelligence, we are talking about those hardcore comprehension and data processing technology. But when we talk about smart, it's basically just data-driven approach. And the data need to have their integrity. The data need to be processed so that they are structured. And then hopefully we can analyze data and creating something that can support our better decision. And maybe just give me a couple of minutes. I just want to say that with the blockchain and other 2 technology, they are like shared economy. and other different economy can be created. And with IoT and the digital technology, our business model or business paradigms have been changed, becoming smaller and smaller, and finer and finer. And we are not responding to a problem. We want to sense and predict and even prevent. Right? We were talking about efficiency, but now we want to do it very precisely, rather than just fast. We want it fast and right. We're talking about the aesthetic instead of in the past, but rather than aesthetic, because now we have digital technology, IoT, they can sense and respond. So they can create not just passively the aesthetic, they can create something called experience because they can interact with customers. Right? So IoT can also enable us to develop product or service to provide not just aesthetics, but experiences. Again, a lot of new things that we can do. You can probably read through them. You can probably understand it quite easily. And value proposition become different. I think this has been happening. People go into a coffee shop not because of coffee, it's because of the space that they want. And a lot of new competition coming out because of the connectivity of the physical object, allowing us to create a lot of new business model and creating new business model. More and more, we are not focusing on product. We are focusing on what the products, the outcome or the service that can provide it by the product. So we're looking at shared mobility. In fact, there's a whole area of shared economy. And with product being connected, again, we are trying to ensure the outcome created by the product along with the rest of the product and the rest of the system. So instead of focusing on the product and selling a product, gradually we can focus on creating a system of systems so that we can ensure all these products, the reason of having all these products, the outcome that these products jointly together want to create, right? That is the outcome. So with the connected product, we can create a system of systems that ensure outcome, not ensure the function of the product. This is a paper by Michael Porter. You probably know that. So it is a very, very, very good and important idea of saying that once we can connect the physical object online, then they can be more like digital object, and we can integrate them together and integrate this system, physical object system, with other systems, so that instead of worrying about agricultural machine, now we can have a system of system to ensure the outcome of agriculture. And we also developed a model. It's called outcome economy. I don't think we have time to go through that, but basically we utilize IoT to sense the usage and use blockchain behind to ensure that the consumption and the value transaction can be trusted. And then we use AI to support, in this particular case, a lot of scheduling and predictive maintenance. Okay, so a little bit, I personally feel that a little bit unstructured, but there are just a lot of information that I would like to share. Hopefully, up to this point, I provided you some of the ideas that I was planning to share with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Chou. That is an interesting lecture about data integrity. Right, so we will continue with the lab demonstrations. Do we have Pak Indi here?
Sebentar ya, saya set dulu.
Baik. Okay, so perhaps while we wait, we can have one question from participants. Aulia, would you like to deliver the question directly? Aulia Hanun Istihar. Is Aulia here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, please.
Okay. Good afternoon to evening, Professor.
Yes.
So thank you for the explanation of the data and integrity. So I have a question, but actually this question was from the previous session, the first session about the introduction of IoT. But since we lack of time, so we this question was remained unanswered. And I want to ask this again today. This was about the technology that we know that the technology these days is very rapid. The growth is very rapid, but there are some people who are not very aware of this growth, and they are not very ready to face the IoT era. So maybe do you have any like advice or something that the common people could do in facing the new technology era? Do you catch my question?
How people can catch up with this IoT era?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I think it's a very interesting question. I think if you look at the past 100 years, technology evolved tremendously, exponentially. It's unbelievable. For the entire human history, for a long time, maybe we were sort of walking and suddenly we know how to utilize a wheel, and maybe we used the stone wheel for many years, and suddenly we make an improvement using wood, or suddenly we found something even more elastic and can absorb impact. It's changing very slowly, and suddenly everything accelerates tremendously. And also in recent years, I think maybe if we look at the Russia-Ukraine war, and the war is, you see the physical battle, but what we haven't seen or we may have ignored is a lot of the battle behind the scene. For example, communication, information, GPS guidance, all these things. Basically, the warfare is not what you see, is something behind. Recently, I also posted a comment in the line group of my students. I said, technologies still rule. There were a lot of development, and gradually we've been through a period seemingly that we are using all kinds of technologies, but it's just normal technology. It just helps us to do things faster, or it's more fun. And gradually, technology has evolved to the degree that they can allow a country to dominate the world. And the competition, if we don't look at individual level of competition, if we look at competition between countries, AI, quantum computing, these are extremely powerful tools. Okay, distinguish a country which can do it from countries which cannot do it because it's way too powerful that human together may not be able to beat AI. You can replicate a lot of AI basically, right? And quantum computing can create the kind of computing power that we have never seen, although it's still some way to go. But all the countries are working on this. I think chances are most of the people will still not be able to catch up with the technology development. Even people like Raras, right? She's in this area for some time, or anybody else in this area. We can only know. I mean, we are doing this every day and working very hard, trying to catch up. But this total development is really very, very difficult. So going back to your question, how can we help them to catch up? This is something that I think a lot of countries are trying to do, is to re-emphasize so-called STEMs education, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, all these subjects. I think for a while people feel that, oh, we can now live in a world without mathematics. It's not very useful, or science is not very useful. But now people suddenly realize that at this point, like this technology, this revolutionary technology is going to change the competition in the business world, not only in the business world, in the entire world. So technology will still has this tremendous impact. I think even I mean, every country you have very, very smart people. I probably Indy knows that. Recently I'm engaged with a person called, or maybe I should name his name, but basically he's Indonesian, extremely smart, has a lot of skill in mathematics, physics, chemistry, and he was able to create his own methods of learning all these very well. I think we still need to re-emphasize such kind of knowledge that people have the ability to understand what we are talking about. It's basically digital technologies. More and more development is in digital, in bio, nano. All these are very, 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 very important. But without basic education, I think people cannot understand this. It's a very, very difficult, very good question, and very difficult question. In reality, I think it does relate to education. My feeling of way toward changing our society is to have basically better education system, better education. Yeah, because I understand your feeling, like feeling a little bit powerless, that there are so many things under development. How come these people just don't know, and how can we help them to understand those things? But first of all, I don't think we can make everybody fully understand it. I think in a society there will be people who worry about very broad. Maybe they are worried about not just Indonesia. They are worrying about global affair, how it's going to influence Indonesia, and gradually to the other end of the society, people can only worry about their daily life. I think we can still improve on the education, having them understand how the world will become, but it's not going to be easy, I think. I'm pretty sure that I did not answer your question. But basically, yeah, I think it's a little bit powerless from my perspective, how to bring out all these people's awareness that the world will change in that direction. They need to do something different so that they can survive better in the new world. We can continue the dialogue, but I'm pretty sure that I did not answer your question.
Thank you, Professor Chou. I think this lecture series is also one way to give awareness and knowledge to people about this era of Internet of Things. Thank you, Aulia, for the questions. And so, Pak Indi, do we ready to have the last demonstration?
Yes, I'm ready for the presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let me share the screen. Okay, so for today, I would like to present our research. Actually, this is more related to the last week presentation of Professor Chou, which is combined between getting data from the IoT device. Then we can do some analytics using the data that we collected from the sensor, IoT device, and other device. So in this one, I will use.
Pak Indi, sorry to interrupt. Do you view your slides or application perhaps? Have you shared it?
This one, right? Smart dispenser.
Sorry, I haven't seen it yet.
We haven't seen it yet. Sorry, I just exit the share screen, so maybe you can try again.
Oh yeah, I share again. Okay.
Okay. Now
So okay, yeah. Thank you very much, Bu Raras. Okay, so I continue. So for this example, we will use for the case study about using a smart dispenser or dispenser, and we put smart because we want to the dispenser can help us or to have better life. Okay, I think in most of household in Indonesia or in Taiwan for sure that we have a dispenser, right? Water dispenser. So because we want to get the hot water, or because Indonesia is so hot, so we want to get the cold water. So that we understand that in order to heating or cooling the water, water dispenser need to use some energy from the electricity to heating and the cooling. And most of the water dispenser, they have like scheduling. For example, in here that they have 40 minutes to heating up the water. And for cooling the water, maybe they have like 30 minutes. And some good dispenser, because they have some insulation in their water tank, actually they can have like more, they can keep hot water more than like the normal dispenser. Yeah. So, but for sure, even if we have already good water tank with the insulation, the temperature of the water can be decreased or can increase. Yeah. And then after that, if they have some threshold, they will cooling again or heating again. And it's repeat many times in our daily life. So for sure that sometimes because we don't need to have a water, I mean, maybe the demand is not too many or too much. So we need to have a scheduling, or we need to have like a more intelligent dispenser that understand our behavior or our consumption. So using like the technology from the IoT in here, that we want to have the most efficient dispenser in energy usage and environmental friendly for everyone. Thus we are helping to build the smart city. Okay. So from this one, the operational efficiency. So if we can have like a more smart dispenser that it can allow to adjust based on our behavior or our consumption, we can still get the hot water or the cold water when we need. But when we don't need the water, maybe they can lower their cooling process or heating process, so it can have more efficiency of energy. For sure that if we can collect the data from the smart dispenser, that we can also control and monitor the water dispenser. Moreover, that we can have maybe for the more advanced that we can have like a predictive maintenance, or maybe just like communication between smart dispenser. For example, if we have like 2 dispenser in one floor, that during like maybe like in the weekend when the demand is not too many, so they can communicate, or they can have like scheduling to only the one who turn on only one dispenser. And then when they see like the consumption increase, so maybe they can like turn on both of the dispenser. So for this case study that we have this kind of dispenser we got from a company in Taiwan, and then they're willing to put some sensor in their dispenser. Actually, they already have that module. Only maybe they still use it for commercial product, but they have some like board that can collect all of this data. For example, the temperature of the water, and then they can have like the quality of the water, and then the volume of each of tank, water tank in this dispenser. Okay, so based on the data that we collect from the smart dispenser, then we create the prototype to have like a dashboard of the each of a dispenser. So for example, this dispenser, we have one in the electronic building, and we have the other one in the MF building. Actually, for the dashboard, actually, we put in the sensor in almost like 30, right, Professor? 30 dispenser in our school. We have like 100. More than 100 dispenser in our school. Okay. So we collect the data from this one, then we do some analysis from this water dispenser. So we collect the data from the water dispenser, then we collect the consumption, we collect the temperature of the water, then we collect other data from the outside, from the external, for example, from the outside temperature, and then for the activity in school and other external data. So based on the data from the dispenser, then we combine with the data from the external data. And then we do some data pre-processing. In this one, we have like some kind of technique for the feature selection. It includes the clustering, include how to refine the seasonal index, and then the classification of the water consumption. And then after we have do some feature selection, we got several feature that we can use to predict the number of consumption in the future. So why we do need to know about the feature prediction? Because we want to understand about the consumption in the future, so we can decide for the dispenser when the dispenser need to cooling the water, on when they need to heating the water. Because if they see if the consumption is so small or there is no consumption, why do they need to cooling or heating the the dispenser also need to understand about when people want to get the water, the hot water, or so if they don't if the system or the dispenser just doesn't know about the consumption, so maybe they will be late to prepare for the or to heating the water. So for example, that I want to get the hot water, but because they just sleep or they just turn off, so I cannot get the hot water. So the dispenser also still need to understand when people will start to use the dispenser for the hot water or to get the hot water or the cold water. Okay, so this is the existing system, the left one, and then this is the right system. For the prediction, we combine then from the feature selection, and then we use like LSTM, the recurrent neural network, and some deep learning with some structure. So we can get like the multi-period prediction. And then based on this proposed system, we do some simulation because we cannot directly change the smart dispenser. So we do some simulation for this one. And then based on our simulation result that we can get like, we can save the energy or the electricity for a month for 28%. However, we still can maintain the service level like 99%. So I think this is a very good result for us. Yeah. So because this is 28% from one dispenser, right? So if we have like in the NTUST that we have like 100 dispenser, so we can save more energy for dispenser. Okay, this is for the smart dispenser. Okay, so in the future, that for sure, if you also interested with this kind of research, you can do like for the predictive analytics, for example, because we got the data from the dispenser, so we can understand about the performance of the dispenser, so we can decide maybe in the future that this dispenser will be breakdown, so we can do some maintenance. So we don't need to do like preventive maintenance or like the scheduling maintenance. Okay, then for sure that we can have like communication between dispenser. For just like my example, that if we have like 2 or 3 dispenser, but when the demand is low, so we don't need to turn on, or they don't need to provide all the dispenser provide the water. Maybe only one dispenser is enough. Okay. This is from the smart dispenser. And then the second one, this is actually this research is before the smart dispenser. We start this one first. In this research or this project, we want to share our parking, because in Taiwan, you know that it's difficult to get parking for the car, and you know that parking can make like a congestion, or can, if you try to find parking, if it's difficult, yeah, you can waste time. For sure that, for example, like a place or the building like a school or university, they can have more parking. And sometimes the parking is available because, for example, like the professor or the student, maybe in the night or maybe in the holiday, they don't come to school. So we can use that parking. Or maybe like Professor Chou traveling to Europe or US, so maybe for like a week. So mostly one of parking slot in our school will be available. Maybe we can also share that one to other people. For sure, we need to understand about the internal demand of our parking system, because we don't want, if we rent the parking to other people, then suddenly the owner of the parking suddenly come back to the school, so and then they cannot find the parking, so they will get upset for sure, because it's their parking slot. So for sure that we need to understand about the internal demand. So in here that we collect the data from the entrance gate, the exit gate, in our school that there's some company for the parking. They provide us about the availability of the parking from to parking area in our school, so we can get the data. We get from their database, then we collect to our database. At this time, we still use Elasticsearch, but now we cannot use Elasticsearch because there's some security problem from Elasticsearch. So we get from our own database using a MongoDB, then we collect the data and we do the analytics. Mostly the analytics is almost similar with the smart dispenser. So based off this one. So we use also deep learning, neural network, LSTM, in order to forecast or to understand about the future of internal demand. So based on this data, we create some dashboard, and then the prediction result of the internal demand. And then because we also create some application for the how to we use to book the reservation. This is the prototype. So we also create the mobile app application. So if someone want to, for example, want to reserve or want to parking in our school, they can use this application. Yeah. So we can have two backend. This is for the dashboard to understand about the internal demand, and then the prediction, and this one for the user. Okay. Okay. This is most of the system. Then we also have several projects related to how to we collect the data from our school. For example, this one, we have the crowdsourcing reporting system. In this application, we want to get the information from the user, from the staff, from the student about the condition of the tools or the facility in our school. So by using this application, we can report if there is a problem with the facility. For example, if there is a problem in a bedroom, maybe the water leakage, or maybe there is no garbage can, or other things that we can do this one by report for this one. For this project that we utilize using the QR code, but also at the time we want to also utilize using the Bluetooth, the BLE. Okay, so because using the BLE, that we can locate several item or equipment in our facility. Or the easy one is using like a barcode, but you know that barcode sometimes it's easy to broken. So that's why we combine by using a QR code and BLE or iBeacon or Bluetooth. Okay. And we have several application for the smart campus. For example, this one, maybe transportation system. For now, in Google, we can use this one, but also in Taiwan, there's a lot of application for this one. And also this is for the parking. And then this one, we have like install several video in our school. This one is one location. So we can see from the video that the traffic in near our school. Hopefully in the future that this video can be extended that to see like or to recognize the traffic in our school. Not only we can see directly, but they can give some recommendation of analysis based on the video CCTV around our school. Okay, and this is some video, one video. Actually, this is related to the blockchain. Actually, at that time, sorry, maybe I put in here. This was the study case that we want to have like a shared space. We want to like rent the space but not only space, but also the equipment or the facility inside of the space. But this equipment or the facility inside of the room, we can charge only when they use. So if they don't use, we don't need to charge or to charge the facility. Yeah. So maybe if you only use the room, so you will get charged only for the room. But if you use like a printer or maybe like the LCD or the projector, so you will get charged for the facility. And the facility in here that we want to get very accurate. So for if you use the LCD or projector maybe only for like 5 minutes, so the charge only 5 minutes. So in order to have like transparency, and we want to like so the system can be tempered by other for the owner or for the management. So we want to we implement this one using blockchain. So all the data recording like the data ran or that data that you use for the facility, it's recorded in blockchain. Even like if you want to pay, you can just pay by using the Ethereum at this time. Yeah. So this one we use the framework from the Ethereum. Also combined, there is one framework also from the ITM. Can collect the data from like the IoT and other service combined with the Ethereum. Okay, so this one is implemented by one of the alumnus from our school, from the ITS. He can like implement this one quite well, and then he continue using a blockchain for his thesis. Yeah, so this is one of very good example. Hopefully for the future, we will extend this one for the energy application. For example, for the carbon footprint. Maybe I will present about this one for the next week. Okay. Raras, that's all from me. Maybe if Professor want to add more about our development, please.
No, I think that's plenty enough. Thank you. We did a lot of implementation in the past through different projects. Until recently, most of our projects are proof of concept. So we demonstrate how technology can be connected to enable the service. And some, although for example, for the water dispenser project, we spent a few years, not just in one semester or 1 year, probably 3-4 years, going through different kind of development and sort out a lot of interesting points. Water dispenser can automatically understand how it is being used to reduce the energy consumption. And with water dispenser, will automatically try to coordinate with other water dispenser to provide better service in terms of meeting the needs of hot, warm, and cold waters, and so on. And we even it's through a cooperation with another professor. He even brought the solution to a school, allowing students when they go take the water, they will record the amount of water the student take, and help the student to manage its water drinking behavior. So you can, I think there are still a lot of things that we can do. Companies are, we were working with the largest water dispenser companies in Taiwan. They are very interested in this technology. It's just said that maybe the timing is not right, but every time we have meeting, they send two very senior manager to join our discussion and providing us a lot of technical help. And we feel that this is a very good project because water drinking or water resources management is very important. One of the most important issues. They said that water will be even more rare than a lot of resources in the near future. So a lot of them in terms of IT part were implemented by ITS alumni, basically. A lot of informatics students helping out with the implementation. As I said, we still have 5, including Indy 6 with informatics background from ITS.
Okay, thank you, Prof.
Yeah.
Thank you, Pak Indi and Professor Chou. That is interesting implementation app for smart dispenser and smart campus. Unfortunately, because of the limited time, so I will close these sessions. I would like to remind you that we have the last session of Adjunct Professor next week, which will be not in Thursday, but in Wednesday, 25th of May 2022, with starting the same time, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. And hopefully we will see a different Zoom background from Professor Chou because he will deliver the lecture from London. Is it right, Professor?
Right. I will arrive one night before in London. In the morning, I should fly to Prague, but then I decided to stay in London and give the lecture. So I will be in London at the time.
Right. So I would like to thank you for participants who are joining these sessions. Thank you for the head of department, Pak Mujahidin, who also joined.
Terima kasih. Thank you, Prof. Chou. See you again. Mas Indi, terima kasih, Mas Indi. Terima kasih.
And thank you as well for the staff who help, Mbak Vian, Mas Aroki, and there are lecturers from Information System Department who join as well, Pak Nisfu Asrulsani, Pak Ahmad Mukhlason, Pak Tony Dwi Susanto, and also there is the information media staff who handle the live YouTube, Ananta, and for all of you who join until the end of this session. I will take a picture, so please kindly turn on your video.
So next week, the application will be more on industrial applications. I think the demo will be on 2 projects that we have been conducting. One is on a smart logistic system or smart warehouse. It's I consider a very interesting and very beneficial application. Another one will be on renewable energy, I believe. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you. So we will have another lab demonstration as well, which is interesting for the next session. Okay, I will count with Chinese perhaps. So, 1, 2. Okay, please turn on your video. Turn on your video. I would like to see more faces. Okay, some of you turn on the video, so I will take a picture again. 1, 2, 3. All right, so that is the end of today. I hope you have a great evening. Thank you, Professor Chou. Thank you, Kak Indi. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. See you next week.
Thank you, Pak Mujahid, Bu Ranas, and all the team, Pak Yan, Mas
Thank you,
Logi.
Prof. Erma.
Thank you.
Thank you
Bye.
next week.
See you next week. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah.